Hey everybody, Tosan here with another Tosan Talks, and this subject is, where are all the healers? God damn, it's hard to find healers these days, isn't it? So the main point of this topic, this isn't like to make some crazy, solution and go preach it to Blizzard and tell them, hey, this is how you fix your game, because I think they kind of already got the hint by now because people have complained about it for a long time. The main purpose of this video is so that everybody is kind of on the same page and has the full understanding of what is currently wrong with PvP in World of Warcraft and why healers, this is just a symptom, not the cause, but why it's so damn hard to find healing partners nowadays. So let's figure it out. Why is it so hard to find healing partners? Well, there's not that many healers, but why are there so few healers, it seems? Well, that's because healing isn't that fun. But why is healing not fun? Well, mainly it's stressful and it's difficult. So we already determined that healers are scarce. It's very obvious why healers are scarce. It's because they're not that fun to play. They're very stressful. It all comes back to one completely catastrophic event that shook Azeroth through and through. That event is the pruning. That's right. We all know at the beginning of Legion, and especially in WoD as well, people were complaining about the pruning. Now, what is the pruning? For those of you who don't know this term, although if you've been in the PvP scene since the beginning of WoD, you probably have heard this term a lot. Cedu used to talk about it on his stream all the time. He was one of the main combatants against Blizzard's horrible design philosophy to dumb everything down for all the plebs. So what is the pruning? Or, for more dramatic effect, the pruning. That sounds a little dumb, but it's a little more dramatic, right? The pruning was a much more catastrophic event than the Cataclysm. Deathwing looks like a little pussy compared to what Blizzard has done to Azeroth. So why has the pruning shaken up WoW so badly? You might think that, hey, this simplified version of all the classes is actually good. A lot of casual players can get into it and it's not so complicated, but it's bad for many reasons. And it goes directly back to why healers are so fucking hard to find, which is the main point of this video. It's simple. When DPS gets easier, healing gets harder. It's not about the class kit complexity. It's not that healers have more buttons than they used to have. It's just that DPS have less buttons than they used to have. And this is important because the less buttons you have, the less things you can fuck up in your damage rotation. Damage rotations, for the most part, have been very simplified. Back in the day, some 1800 or 1700 rogue was doing very crappy DPS compared to a 2500 rogue. This can be said for pretty much every class. Maximizing your DPS in a PvP setting back in the day used to have a very huge skill cap. Positioning, little things like keeping up slice and dice at the optimal amount. A lot of rogues would let slice and dice fall or wouldn't pre-slice and dice before they did their burst. And back then, combo points didn't follow the rogue. A lot of the time you'd have combo points on a target. So let's say you're gonna swap, right? You build combo points on this guy, and then you use those combo points for a slice and dice before you swap hard to another guy. And then you go swap to that guy and you've already got slice and dice, and maybe you use expose armor to set him up for a big burst. Then you do your CC chain, you've got slice and dice, expose armor, you do big burst, yada yada. Also, a big part of it isn't just the the reduction of abilities and simplifying the damage rotations. It's also resource management used to be a big deal. I mean, DKs used to have like multiple different types of runes. Even as Frost Spec or whatever, they would have like 2 Frost, 2 Unholy, and 2 Blood runes, right? So now, like if you play Frost, you've got all Frost runes, so you don't even have to consider what you're using them on. It's just ammo, basically. You don't have to worry about the type of ammo, it's all the same. So resource management as a whole has gotten easier and dumbed down, and damage rotations have gotten easier and dumbed down. They've removed a lot of utility and CC abilities, so there used to be a huge gap, a lot of little variables that added up that really separated DPS players. A really good DPS player would be here, and a really bad one would be here. But the difference between really good DPS and really bad DPS is shrinking because everything is being simplified, so there's less things to fuck up, less ways to maximize your DPS. So, when every low-rated 1800 player is doing near maximum DPS, the healer's job is naturally going to get harder because the healer is always healing against terrifying DPS, rather than like, oh, this is a 1700 team, I don't even have to pop cooldowns to keep us alive because they're fucking up so many things. Nowadays, there's just so few things to fuck up from DPS players. The DPS players just go in, pop all their cooldowns, and do max DPS instantly, and the healer is the main person who has to deal with that. Yeah, DPS players have their own defensive cooldowns to use and stuff, but for the most part, the burden is on the healer to manage those defensives and to actually get the healing out, to heal through the insane DPS throughput. So it all comes back to the pruning, and this is what we all tried to warn Blizzard about. See, the thing about WoW is the reason buttons, or the amount of buttons you have to press, are so important in things like resource management is because there's not really many skill shot type abilities in WoW. Most of the skill in WoW comes from decision making, having constant little decisions to make throughout a match. because we don't. It's not like an FPS where you have to have impeccable aim and you can always get better at it, or a real-time strategy game like StarCraft, where you have to have crazy APM and like micromanage a whole bunch of different things all over the map at once. There's not this endless skill cap available in a game like WoW, because everything is like you target a player, you lock on, you press your buttons. Now, any warrior at 1800 pressing 1, 2, 3 is going to be just as effective as a warrior at 2500 pressing 1, 2, 3. I'm not saying there's not a difference between the skill of those players, because there definitely is, but it's not nearly as wide of a gap as it used to be. There's not a giant gap separating 2500 from 1800 warriors, for example, or a DK or whatever. The only difference would be how they use their defensives, utility, and CC, but there's not a whole lot of that stuff left in the game because of the pruning. So, the whole point of this video is not to offer some grand solution where I think, we can fix everything. It's really up to Blizzard. I think they're already aware of it, but I think if the community is more aware of this cause and effect of why healers are so miserable and hard to find, because healers being scarce right now is a direct result of the pruning. All the DPS mongoloids are going out doing maximum DPS and steamrolling healers, and it's not fun for them. And I think it's important that we all have that understanding, so going into the next expansion, maybe we can voice our opinions during the alpha and beta a little bit more fiercely, and Blizzard will move in the right direction and start giving us buttons back. More complex damage rotations help separate the good from the bad. So in closing, I would like to give a shout out to all the lovely healers out there who are still healing us despite getting constantly beaten down and steamrolled by all the drooling gorillas. Yeah, we're still gonna blame you sometimes when you don't use Spirit Link or pain suppression us at 5% instead of 50% and let us die without using Trinket and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we do appreciate you, and we know your job is hard. The plus side to healers being so scarce is the really good ones are a hot commodity, which means you get the pick of the litter from all the best DPS players if you're a good healer, because all the good players are looking for good healers. So let that be the silver lining to all you dedicated healers out there. I know sometimes it seems like a fruitless effort to try to heal through all the DKs and warriors and demon hunters and shit. So keep in mind, if you're a really dedicated healer and you become really good at it, you're gonna have the pick of the litter because people want you to heal them. Good healers are hard to find and we want that ass. So keep fighting the good fight. Hopefully the next expansion, the skill cap for DPS will be raised and not every 1800 player is gonna force all your cooldowns in the first 5 seconds. So this has been another episode of Tosan Talks. I hope you enjoyed the topic. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe and all that bullshit. And of course, feel free to chime in with your 2 cents in the comments. Thanks for watching as always, and peace out.